This video is sponsored by Monport. What's up, everybody? This is the Monport Mega S 70-watt CO2 laser, and I've had it up and running for a while now, but today I'm going to be taking you back to square one. I'm going to be walking you through the entire process of getting this thing unboxed, calibrated, and set up so you're ready for your first cut. Let's get into it. So the first thing you'll notice is that this thing is packaged extremely well. There's nothing too crazy in terms of unboxing here, but this machine is pretty heavy, so make sure to strap on your best pair of Crocs, put them in 4x4 mode, and get yourself a lifting partner to get it up on your workbench. But while I'm unboxing, I did want to mention that if you like this machine and you want to pick one up for yourself, you can use the code or link in the description to get an 8% discount. I get a little kickback from that, which helps support this channel, and you get a discount, so it's a win-win. And now that we can get our first real good look at this machine, it's honestly pretty snazzy looking. Definitely a nice upgrade from some of the lasers I've had in the past. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a 70-watt CO2 laser. It's got a camera, Wi-Fi connectivity, air assist, pass-through ports on the front and back for longer stock, or if you want, it's actually compatible with a conveyor belt. Inside, it's got cable chains, so there's no loose wires, and overall, it's just a very clean and well-built machine. Anyways, once you've got this thing unpacked and you've taken a minute to just kind of soak it in, there are a couple of brackets underneath the gantry that hold it in place during shipping that you'll need to remove. It should come with the right Allen wrench for that. In fact, it comes with all the tools you should need, but there's just 2 bolts on each bracket that once you get those off, you should be ready for the next step. This machine has built-in water cooling for the laser tube, so you don't have to have a separate cooling setup, which saves a lot of space. But you do need to fill up the reservoir with coolant. To do that, you need to remove the back panel, and while you're in there, you'll need to remove all the shipping foam as well. It came with a little bottle of coolant and a funnel to help you get it in the reservoir, but if you need more, you can also use distilled water, as long as your laser isn't going to see freezing temperatures, because that isn't good. Anyways, from there you should be able to power it on and unlock it by pressing the touch button on the front.
Oops.
While I was waiting for the machine to boot up, I took that time to install the bottom pan and hex grid, which you can do by opening the pass-through port on the front, and then you can go ahead and plug it into your computer. Monport recommends doing all the machine configuration with their own MODHOB software, which I'll have linked in the description. From there, open the connection dialog on the USB tab. You might have to click refresh a few times, but eventually your machine should pop up and you should be able to connect to it, at which point it will prompt you for your Wi-Fi credentials. Unfortunately, the firmware on the Mega S doesn't support Wi-Fi SSIDs or passwords with spaces or certain special characters, so pretty much every Wi-Fi I've ever seen. I didn't want to change my home Wi-Fi and my router can't do VLANs, so I just spun up a new network with a spare router I had. And I should mention, if I'm missing or skipping anything in the setup, Monport does have a wiki for the Mega S with tons of information, so make sure to check it out. Before you can run this machine, you need to make sure that the mirrors are aligned, and don't worry, it's actually super easy. You start by installing the optical target and then opening the settings for the optical path alignment. It'll give you an overview of the process, but when you're ready, go ahead and click Laser Head Output. This will output a visible laser that you can use to align the mirror with the center of the optical target. You'll want to make sure to move the carriage all the way to the far end of the gantry, otherwise it'll look properly aligned and actually be way off. To adjust the mirror, there are 3 screws on the mirror's housing, and each one adjusts the laser output in a different direction. It's pretty easy to figure out through trial and error, but the wiki also documents how each screw will affect the laser output. So if you get confused or have any questions, make sure to check out the wiki. But once you've got the laser as close to the center of the optical target as possible, you can go back to the settings page and click the picture, and then click Next Step. Since the Mega S uses a fisheye camera lens, we need to calibrate to properly account for the warp. Start by placing a piece of material in each of the 4 corners. It might also help to raise the exposure for this part, which can be done by clicking the More button and then adjusting the exposure dropdown. From there, go to Settings, Tools, and click Start on Correction Data. This process will engrave a corner mark on each of the pieces of material you placed in each of the 4 corners. It doesn't really matter what material you use. I've used construction paper and the 3mm linen board that are provided with the machine, but you just need something that will create a corner mark for you to use later. Once that's done, the software will prompt you to align an element with where those 4 corner marks show up in the picture. You can then get a preview of what that correction looks like, and if you like it, go ahead and click Done. The result will be a cropped image of the usable area on your laser. Once your image is properly cropped, from there we can start working on correcting the distortion from the fisheye lens. There are a couple of different ways to do this. The first is by importing the parameters that Monport has actually provided for this machine. On their wiki, they have a JSON file that you can download and import through the settings panel. This is, again, just a default file that Monport provided to you, and the machine will take it and apply it to any of the photos that are coming in. It'll show you a preview of the correction, and if you like it, you can click Confirm. Then if you close the settings and click the Refresh Background button, you'll get an updated picture with the calibration applied. That should work for most people, but if for whatever reason you still have a warped picture, you can also do a manual calibration. To do that, you'll need to download the checkerboard image from the wiki and follow the instructions to take a series of 16 photos across the laser bed. MODHOB will assist you in taking these photos if you click Start on the distortion correction in Settings. It can also help to cover the hex grid with white paper, but in any case, you'll need to move the checkerboard in a 4x4 grid, taking pictures at each point. MODHOB will analyze each picture as you go and allow you to delete any that are bad. Once you've taken all 16 pictures, you should be able to click Start, at which point it will use them to build its own correction data. And if successful, you should get a nice flat image. Now, here you may benefit from rerunning the camera cropping step from before, but if yours still looks fine, then you can get started cutting. And MODHOB makes that super easy to do. You basically have all the SVG editing tools you'd expect, and you can even import some pre-designed graphics by clicking the geometry option on the left-hand panel. From there, everything's pretty much drag and drop to move and resize. You've got some tools on the top for alignment, reflection, grouping, and merging, and then with your elements selected, you can configure how you want the laser to output them in the right-hand panel. And if you prefer editing your designs in a different software like Adobe Illustrator, you can easily drag and drop any SVG files into MODHOB too. If you need to save and revisit any of your designs later, you can save them, and they're saved as simple SVG files, but they do preserve the cutting settings as well. While I was messing around with it, I figured out you can also generate QR codes directly in here under the More option on the left. QR codes aren't hard to generate, but it is nice to have it all in one place. Simply enter your text or link or whatever, and it'll pop it right into the canvas for you. But what if you want to engrave something like name tags, where you've got a bunch of them and they're small and they're hard to get aligned perfectly? Well, that's where batch fill comes in handy. You start by creating whatever element you want to copy, and then going into the More menu, you can select Batch Fill. If you have a pretty complex shape, it'll require you to combine them, but once it's happy, you can click Next and Fill, and it will detect matching shapes in your picture and automatically map your graphics to them. It's super important that you do the image calibration steps from before, otherwise the mappings here won't be very accurate. Once you're ready to engrave, you can select the material from the dropdown, and in this case I didn't have a great match for what I'm actually engraving, so I just picked ceramic coaster. You've got a couple options in terms of operation. You can do a score, which is basically tracing the lines of your graphics, and then an engrave, which will fill the lines of your graphic, and cut, which is basically a score, but cutting all the way through your material. For engraving, you can adjust how dark the final image is using the grid below, and for all the options, you can always override the power and speed settings, as well as increasing the number of passes. When you change any of the settings, they'll apply to all of the graphics that are selected. This can be both a blessing and a curse, so make sure you've got the right selection before changing any settings. And finally, when you're ready, go ahead and click the Process button in the bottom right, and then Start to see your creations come to life.
All right, well, I hope that this video was helpful for you. I know setting up a machine like this can feel like a lot,
even a little bit daunting at first. But once you get it going, it really is super easy to use. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to pick up a machine like this, then don't forget to use the code in the description to get 8% off your order. Otherwise, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.